Kirk, Frost and Rashida have faced scandals before, but nothing could have prepared fans for what went down on set this time. Picture the cameras rolling, the crew whispering, and tensions already boiling beneath the surface. When out of nowhere, Kirk does the unthinkable. He slaps Rashida. Yes, you heard that right. A man who once swore loyalty to his wife and built a brand on being her partner, suddenly crossed the line in front of everyone. Gasps filled the room, and you could almost feel the air leave the set as Rashida clutched her cheek in pure shock. But if that wasn't enough to shake the world of love and hip-hop to its core, what happened next sent fans into absolute meltdown. Their son, Kai Frost, who had been watching his parents' chaos quietly from the sidelines for years, finally exploded. His anger erupted like a storm, and with his voice breaking from rage, he pointed at his father and screamed words no one ever expected to hear on camera. "I'll kill you." Crew members froze, castmates looked on in horror, and in that moment, the Frost family's dirty laundry was no longer just rumor, it was live, raw, and undeniable. Fans are calling it the most explosive moment in reality TV history, one that has left the family divided, viewers shaken, and everyone asking, how did it get this bad? Because behind that single slap lies a story of betrayal, resentment, and secrets that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Kirk, Rashida, and their son. And tonight, we're diving deep into the scandal that's got the internet on fire. The moment Kirk's hand connected with Rashida's face, the entire set turned into chaos. Crew members who had been casually holding cameras and boom mics suddenly froze, and the background chatter fell into a dead silence before erupting into frantic whispers. Rashida's eyes widened, not only from the sting but from sheer disbelief that the man she had built an empire with had just humiliated her in front of the world. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Did you really just do that, Kirk?" And for a split second, it looked like Kirk realized the weight of what he had done. But instead of backing down, his pride fueled his anger, and he snapped back. "Don't act like you don't push me to this point, Rashida. You've been playing me for months." The set was on fire with emotion, and everyone present knew something historic was unfolding. What no one expected, though, was that Kai Frost, quiet, observant, always caught in the shadow of his parents' public battles, would be the one to break. He shot up from his seat, his face flushed with fury, and for the first time, he wasn't the kid watching his parents fight, he was the son of a betrayed mother. "You're not a man, Dad," Kai shouted, his voice shaking but carrying more weight than anyone thought possible. "You put your hands on my mom. I swear, I'll kill you before I ever let you disrespect her like that again." The words cut through the air like a knife. The crew didn't know whether to keep filming or step in. Because this wasn't reality TV anymore, it was raw, unfiltered rage spilling out of a son who had been forced to swallow his parents' toxicity for years. Fans watching later would call it the single most heartbreaking and shocking line ever caught on camera. Rashida, still holding her face, reached toward Kai with trembling hands, pleading through her tears, "Baby, please. Don't say that. Don't let him drag you into this mess." But Kai was far past the point of calm. His entire body was shaking, his jaw clenched so tight you could see the veins in his neck. And his eyes burned with a kind of pain that only comes from years of watching someone you love suffer. Kirk tried to reassert his authority, puffing his chest and snapping, "You don't talk to me like that, boy. I'm your father." But Kai wasn't backing down. Fathers protect their families, not destroy them. Fathers respect their wives, not put them down for ratings. "You're not my father. You're just a man who thinks being loud makes him strong." The room erupted again, with castmates like Carly Red gasping so loudly she almost fell back in her chair, and production assistants rushing in to try and calm the storm. But the damage had already been done. For years, Kirk and Rashida had walked a dangerous line between love and betrayal, between loyalty and scandal, and it had always been packaged neatly for reality TV consumption. The cheating scandals, the secret babies, the financial betrayal of it was shocking, but it was also part of the game. This time, though, the game had crossed into real life in a way that no script could have prepared anyone for. Emotions weren't being staged, they were unraveling before everyone's eyes. Rashida's tears were not for the cameras but for the fact that her son had finally cracked under the weight of a toxic love story that had become his entire childhood. Fans who saw the leaked footage later would write online, "We've seen messy before, but this is trauma. This is generational pain exploding right in front of us." As the shouting continued, other cast members tried to step in. Scrappy walked up to Kai, putting a hand on his shoulder, murmuring, chill lil bro, this ain't it, don't let him take you there. But Kai shrugged him off, his eyes locked on Kirk with an intensity that scared even the security guards, who had just rushed in. Meanwhile, Rashida finally found her voice through sobs and screamed at Kirk, "Do you see what you've done? You've broken your own son. You think this is about me, but it's about what you've turned us into." Kirk's defenses started to crumble, but his pride wouldn't let him admit fault. Instead, he shouted back, "Don't act like you're innocent, Rashida. You've been hiding things too. You think I don't know about the texts? About the late-night calls?" Gasps filled the room again. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a slap anymore, this was about betrayal, stacked on betrayal. Secrets piled on secrets, and the Frost family's very foundation crumbling in front of millions. Kai, already shaking with rage, turned even sharper, toward his father. "So that's your excuse? You put your hands on my mom because you think she might have done something. You're pathetic." Rashida's face twisted in pain, not because of Kirk's slap anymore, but because the son she had worked so hard to protect was now being burned alive by the flames she and Kirk had stoked for years. Her tears turned from sorrow to fury as she shouted, "You don't get to drag me down to your level, Kirk. You've been the liar, the cheater, the one who doesn't know what loyalty looks like. And now, you want to point fingers at me. You've lost your mind." The energy in the room was unbearable, like watching a volcano erupt with no way to stop the lava from swallowing everything. Fans who later dissected every second of the footage claimed you could see the exact moment Rashida's love for Kirk cracked beyond repair. Her voice no longer trembled with pain but sharpened with rage, like a woman finally done being silenced. "You don't get to touch me. You don't get to claim me. And after tonight, you don't get to control this family anymore." Those words, combined with Kai's deadly threat, left Kirk standing there like a man surrounded by his own ghosts. His authority as a husband, his respect as a father, and his image as a reality TV figure all shattered in one explosive, unforgettable moment. The crew eventually had to shut down production for the night. Cameras reluctantly lowering as producers scrambled to figure out how much of this footage could even be aired. But for the Frosts, the damage was irreversible. The slap was just the spark, what followed was the wildfire, and nobody was safe from the flames. As security carefully separated Kai and Kirk, Rashida's sobs echoed across the set, and for the first time in a long time, it wasn't about love and hip-hop, ratings, or contracts. It was about a family that had finally imploded under the weight of its own secrets. And yet, even in the midst of the wreckage, fans were left wondering, what other secrets were hiding in the shadows, waiting to explode next? Security guards rushed in to hold Kai back, their arms wrapped around him as he struggled with everything in him to break free. His voice cracked as he shouted, "Let me go. He doesn't deserve to breathe after what he did to her." The crew stood frozen, unsure if they were witnessing a scene meant for TV or a nightmare that had broken through the cameras into real life. Rashida, still clutching her cheek, screamed over the chaos, "Kai, please, stop. Don't let him destroy you too." Her desperation filled the air, but the damage was already spiraling. Kirk, instead of showing remorse, stood tall, with that familiar stubborn glare, the one fans had seen too many times before when he was backed into a corner. "You think you can threaten me? You think you're grown now?" he barked, pointing a finger at his son. "You don't know half of what goes on between me and your mother, so stay out of it." But Kai had years of pent-up pain burning through him. "Stay out of it. You've dragged me into it since I was a kid." His voice broke as he continued, "Every fight, every scandal, every time Mom cried herself to sleep, you think I didn't see it? You think I wasn't there? I've been living in your mess my whole life, and I'm done staying quiet." His words sliced through the air, sharper than anything Kirk could throw back. And for the first time, Kirk's confidence faltered. His jaw tightened, but his eyes darted, showing the smallest flash of uncertainty, maybe even guilt. Meanwhile, Rashida's tears flowed harder as she watched her son stand in the fire she had spent years trying to shield him from. She turned on Kirk, her voice trembling with rage. "Do you hear him? Do you finally hear what you've done? This isn't just about me anymore, it's about what you've stolen from our family, from our kids, from our peace." Kirk tried to respond, but the cast around them started chiming in. Carly Red, clutching her chest, blurted out, "This is too much, y'all. This ain't TV no more. This is destruction." Even Scrappy shook his head, muttering, "Man, this family's breaking right in front of us." Fans would later replay this moment endlessly, dissecting every expression, every word, and the internet would explode with debates. Was Kirk finally getting the reality check he deserved? Or had the Frosts crossed into dangerous territory no reality show should ever exploit? But on set, none of that mattered. What mattered was the Frost family tearing itself apart. Rashida finally stepped between her husband and son, her voice echoing like thunder. Enough. I won't let you destroy him like you destroyed me. Kirk. This ends tonight. Kai's chest heaved as he glared at his father from behind security's grip, his hands still trembling with rage. Kirk looked back, his pride warring with something softer buried deep inside. But before he could answer, Rashida delivered the line that silenced the room. If you ever touch me again, we're done for good. And don't think for 1 second I won't take everything we built and leave you standing in your lies. The words hung heavy, like a final verdict waiting for execution. Everyone knew this wasn't just another messy love and hip-hop storyline. This was real. This was the unraveling of a marriage, the breaking of a family, and the creation of a wound that might never heal. As Kai's furious breaths filled the silence, the cameras caught Rashida's eyes cold, wet with tears, but, finally, unafraid. Fans would later say it was the moment she reclaimed herself, even if it meant the end of everything she had built with Kirk. The slap was just the beginning. The truth, the betrayals, and the boiling rage were still to come, and the night was far from over. The set was eerily quiet for a few seconds, the kind of silence that only comes after an explosion. When everyone is bracing themselves for what might happen next, security still had a tight grip on Kai, his chest rising and falling, like a storm. While Kirk and Rashida stood face to face in a standoff that felt more dangerous than anything love and hip-hop had ever shown, Rashida's voice, raw from crying, cut through the tension as she hissed. You think you're untouchable, Kirk, but you've already lost everything that matters. Kirk's face twisted, a mixture of rage and wounded pride, and he shouted back, lost everything. Look around, Rashida. You wouldn't have half of this without me. You think you're the victim, but you've been playing your own games. Gasps erupted again from the cast standing nearby, and it was clear that Kirk wasn't just lashing out, he was trying to drag Rashida down with him. Kai's body jolted against security's hold, his voice cracking as he roared. Stop blaming her for your failures. You've been embarrassing this family for years. Mom held it together while you tore it apart. His words landed like grenades, and for once, Kirk's usual stone face slipped. His eyes flickered with something between guilt and defiance, and the cameras zoomed in to catch every micro-expression. Rashida turned toward her son, her tears spilling freely, and whispered, Baby, don't waste your strength on him. He doesn't deserve it. But Kai shook his head, his fury uncontainable, and screamed across the set. Then why are you still here, Mom? Why do you keep letting him do this to you? The words stunned everyone into silence. Rashida froze, caught between the raw truth of her son's question and the crushing weight of her own choices. For years, she had stayed through the cheating scandals, the secret child, the endless disrespect. She had stayed for love, for family, for image. But now, with her son calling her out on national television, her facade shattered. I thought I was protecting you, she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of confession. I thought keeping this family together was the only way to save you. But maybe I was wrong. Kirk scoffed, trying to regain control, snapping, Wrong. You've been wrong since you started acting like you didn't need me. You built this brand on my back, Rashida, and now you want to act like you're the saint. His words dripped with venom, but instead of breaking her, they fueled something in her. Rashida wiped her tears with trembling hands, her eyes suddenly burning with resolve. No, Kirk, I built this brand in spite of you. Every time you dragged me down, I pulled myself up. Every time you cheated, every time you lied, every time you humiliated me, I was the one keeping us alive. Don't you dare stand there and act like I owe you for surviving your betrayal. The room shook with the weight of her declaration, and even the cast members who had grown used to Frost family drama looked stunned. Carly Red covered her mouth, whispering to Sierra, She's finally done with him. The fans at home would later describe this as Rashida's breaking point, the moment she transformed from victim to warrior in front of millions. But Kirk wasn't finished. Desperate, cornered, and spiraling, he blurted out the bombshell that turned the night upside down. You want to talk about betrayal, Rashida? Tell them about the man you've been seeing on the side. Tell them about the late-night hotel visits. The entire room erupted in gasps and shouts. Rashida's face drained of color, and even Kai looked stunned for a moment. What? He whispered, turning to his mother. Rashida's lips trembled, her silence speaking louder than any denial could. Kirk smirked bitterly, seizing his chance. To twist the knife? Oh, you thought I didn't know? You thought you were slick, sneaking around like you're innocent. You've been betraying me while pretending to be the victim. The tension skyrocketed. Rashida's hands shook as she finally found her voice. You don't get to twist this. Kirk, you don't get to excuse your violence by dragging my name through the mud. But Kai's wide, devastated eyes locked on her, and his voice cracked. Mom, is it true? That single question shattered the air like glass breaking. Rashida opened her mouth, but no words came out. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, I was lonely, Kai. I was broken. And I made mistakes I can't take back. Her confession sent shockwaves through the set. Kirk's smirk widened into a cruel laugh. See, the perfect little wife wasn't so perfect after all. The revelation divided the room instantly. Some cast members shook their heads in disbelief. Others whispered furiously among themselves. And the crew scrambled to keep cameras rolling. For the fans who would later watch this, it wasn't just another scandal, it was a bombshell that rewrote the Frost family's entire narrative. Kai's face hardened, torn between heartbreak and fury, and he screamed at both his parents. You're both liars. You ruined everything. You ruined me. He broke free from security's hold for a moment, his fists clenched, his body trembling like a live wire, and everyone braced themselves for what might happen next. The Frosts had always lived their lives in the spotlight, but in this moment, their private hell was no longer something they could hide or spin for ratings. This was the destruction of a family, raw and unfiltered, and the night wasn't done with them yet. The slap was the spark, but now the fire was burning out of control, and no one knew how far it would spread. Kai stood there, trembling like a ticking time bomb, his eyes darting between his parents as if searching for a truth that no longer existed. The set felt suffocating, the air thick with betrayal and grief. Rashida tried to reach out to him again, her voice breaking as she whispered, Kai, baby, please look at me. I made a mistake, but don't let this destroy you. But Kai recoiled, his voice shaking with rage and pain. A mistake. A mistake is forgetting a birthday, or saying something you don't mean. What you did, Mom, what both of you did, it ruined me. His fists shook at his sides, his breathing ragged, and the entire cast looked on with wide eyes, unsure whether to step in or back away. Kirk, sensing his son's heartbreak, tried to use it to his advantage. Now you see what I've been dealing with all these years, he sneered. Your mother ain't no angel. She wants to paint me the bad guy, but she been playing her games too. Don't let her fool you. Those words, dripping with venom, sent Rashida into another eruption. Don't you dare put this on me, Kirk. You broke this family long before I ever lost myself. Don't stand here acting righteous when you've dragged us through years of humiliation. Her voice cracked with fury, and tears poured down her cheeks. But this time her sobs were not of weakness, they were of rage. Kai's voice cut through the noise, raw and wounded. You both disgust me. The words were quiet, but they carried more weight than any scream. He stepped back, shaking his head, his entire body trembling as he muttered, All my life, I thought I was fighting to be better than the chaos around me. But now I see, I was raised in lies. The heartbreak on his face was unbearable, and even the crew members used to drama after years of filming felt their stomachs twist. Some lowered their eyes, unable to watch a young man's world collapse. Others whispered, This is too real, this is too far. Rashida broke, collapsing to her knees, in front of her son, sobbing. I'm sorry, Kai. I swear, I thought I was protecting you. I stayed with him because I thought giving you a whole family was better than the truth. I didn't want you to hate me. Her voice cracked under the weight of confession, and the rawness of it shook the room. Kai's eyes filled with tears too, but instead of comforting her, he shouted, But I hate you both now. Don't you see? You tried to save me, but you destroyed me instead. His sobs finally broke through his anger, and the sight of him, a young man unraveling under the sins of his parents, was enough to make even Carly Red burst into tears. Whispering, This is breaking my heart, Kirk, instead of softening, doubled down, desperate to shift blame. You see what you did, Rashida. You poisoned him against me. You had him believing I was the only villain when you were just as guilty. His voice shook, not just with anger but with the cracks of a man watching his family slip away. Rashida's head snapped up, her tear-streaked face blazing with fury. No, Kirk. He sees the truth now. He sees who you are. You want to blame me because you can't face yourself. You put your hands on me. You disrespected me, You betrayed me. That's who you are, and nothing I've done erases that. The set was split down the middle. Some of the cast whispered in defense of Rashida, nodding as if they had seen this pain in her eyes for years. Others, shocked by her confession of infidelity, couldn't help but question whether Kirk had a point. Social media, once the footage leaked, would become a war zone, fans arguing passionately about whether Rashida's confession made her just as guilty or if Kirk's violence and years of betrayal outweighed everything. Hashtags trended for days. Hashtag Team RASHEEDA, hashtag Team KY, and even hashtag Cancel Kirk. Back on set, Kai turned to walk away, shaking his head, but his voice was still sharp enough to pierce the room. I don't want either of you right now. I need to breathe before I lose myself completely. The heartbreak in his voice was enough to freeze Rashida midrich. Her hand outstretched toward her son as he walked toward the exit with tears streaming down his face. Security let him go this time, understanding the danger wasn't in his fists anymore, but in the wounds inside him. The sound of the door slamming behind him echoed like thunder, and the silence that followed was unbearable. Rashida collapsed into a chair, her sobs uncontrollable, her body shaking as if the weight of 20 years had finally crushed her. Kirk stood rigid, his jaw clenched, but for the first time all night, he didn't speak. His silence was louder than his shouting, and it told everyone in the room the truth. He knew he had lost not just the fight, not just the argument, but his family. Rashida looked up through her tears, her voice hoarse as she whispered, "You wanted control, Kirk. Well, congratulations. Now you have nothing left to control." The cameras caught every detail, the tear-streaked faces, the broken voices, the fractures splitting a family into pieces. And though production was ordered to cut, everyone knew the footage would never stay hidden. This wasn't just reality TV anymore. This was history in the making. The night the Frost family finally combusted in front of the world. And still, lingering in the air was one haunting question. Was this the end, or just the beginning of their downfall? The silence, after Kai stormed out, was unbearable, like the whole set was holding its breath, waiting for someone to move, to speak, to do anything to break the tension. Rashida sat slumped in her chair, tears staining her face, her hands shaking as she tried to steady herself. Her voice finally broke the stillness, low and raw. "You've turned my son against me, Kirk. Against us, and I don't know how we come back from that." The weight of her words hit harder than any slap, and for the first time all night, Kirk's bravado cracked. He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out, just silence, his jaw tightening as if the truth was choking him. Carly Red, unable to stay quiet anymore, stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "Kirk, you crossed a line tonight. This ain't cheating scandals or drama for TV anymore. You put your hands on your wife, and now your son's out. They're ready to kill you over it. This ain't entertainment. This is destruction." The other cast members nodded, their faces pale with shock. Even Scrappy, who had tried to calm Kai earlier, muttered under his breath, "Man, I ain't never seen nothing like this before." The crew kept their cameras rolling, despite orders to cut, knowing this footage would become the most explosive in reality TV history. Rashida wiped her eyes, but instead of looking broken, she suddenly looked cold, calculated. "You think you've humiliated me, Kirk," she said, her voice cutting through the air like glass. "No. What you did tonight humiliated you. You've shown the world who you really are, and trust me, the world won't forget it." Her words sent a chill through the room, and Kirk's face flushed red. He tried to fight back, his voice rising. "Don't act like you're innocent, Rashida. You admitted your mess in front of everybody. You think people gonna forget that? You're done too." His desperation was obvious, his voice cracking under the pressure of holding on to any shred of power he had left. But Rashida only shook her head slowly, her eyes locked on him with icy resolve. "The difference is, Kirk, I made mistakes out of pain. You made choices out of cruelty, and fans know the difference." That line, delivered with such piercing clarity, struck Kirk harder than any physical blow could. Around the room, cast members murmured, agreeing with her. Even production staff, who usually kept silent, exchanged knowing looks. It was clear, Rashida wasn't just surviving this moment, she was rising out of it. Then, as if the night hadn't already gone too far, another voice cut through the chaos. "Guys." He had returned, standing at the doorway, his face streaked with tears, but his presence was heavy, commanding the room. "I couldn't leave," he said, his voice shaking. I couldn't walk away from this mess without saying what I need to say." Everyone froze as he stepped back into the room, his eyes blazing, not with uncontrollable rage this time, but with the sharpness of someone who had made a decision. He turned to Kirk first. "You're not my role model. You're not my protector. And after tonight, you're not my father to me anymore. A real father doesn't raise his hand to his wife, doesn't lie, doesn't destroy his family. You've been more of an enemy than a dad." His words landed like thunder, and Kirk's face crumpled, his eyes wet for the first time all night. Kai turned to Rashida next, his voice breaking. "And you, Mom. I love you, but you broke me too. You taught me to forgive him when he didn't deserve it, to stay quiet when I should have spoken up. You showed me that love means pain. And now I don't even know what real love looks like. I needed you to be strong, and instead, you stayed weak for him." Rashida sobbed openly, reaching out. "Kai, please, don't say that. I thought I was protecting you." But Kai shook his head, his voice raw. "No, you were protecting him, and now we're all paying the price." The set was drowning in tension and heartbreak. The crew didn't know whether to intervene or to let the moment play out, but nobody could look away. This wasn't just drama, it was the kind of generational wound that fans would dissect for years to come. Kai took a deep breath, his shoulders shaking, and delivered the final blow. "I'm done with both of you until you figure out who you are. I refuse to keep drowning in this toxic love story you two created. I deserve better than this." With that, he turned and walked out again, his footsteps echoing with finality. Rashida broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably, whispering through her tears, "I've lost my son." Kirk, for once, didn't shout back. He didn't defend himself. He just stood there, silent, his head lowered, the reality of his actions finally crushing him. For the first time all night, he looked small, defeated. The cast exchanged looks of disbelief, some shaking their heads, others whispering prayers. But everyone knew one thing. The Frost family would never be the same after this night. The cameras captured the wreckage, the tears, the silence, the ruins of a family once seen as untouchable, and as the lights dimmed, one question hung heavy in the air. Was this the end of Kirk and Rashida, or the beginning of a new war that would tear them apart forever? The room sat in a heavy, suffocating silence, the kind that made every breath feel like a scream. Rashida's sobs filled the air, her body trembling in Carly Red's arms, while Kirk lingered on the opposite side of the set, staring blankly at the floor as though the weight of his world had finally collapsed. The cast and crew whispered, among themselves, their voices low but frantic. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something that would echo beyond TV, something that would scar the Frost family forever. Suddenly, the studio doors banged open again. This time, it wasn't KY. It was Jasmine, Kirk's former mistress. The very woman who had already once thrown their marriage into chaos with the revelation of his secret child. Gasps ripped through the room as she strode in, her face painted with a mixture of fury and smug defiance. "Oh, so now y'all wanna act shocked?" she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Kirk been trash. This ain't new? Y'all just blind 'cause Rashida kept covering for him." Rashida's head snapped up, her swollen eyes blazing with rage. "What are you even doing here, Jasmine? You've caused enough pain." But Jasmine only laughed bitterly. "No, Rashida, you caused this pain by staying. By pretending like he could change. By letting him walk all over you so you could keep up your little perfect family image. And now look, your own son can't even stand the sight of you both." The set erupted with chaos, again, cast members shouting, security trying to step in, but Jasmine wasn't done. She pointed directly at Kirk, her fingers shaking with anger. "You hit her tonight. Really? That's who you are now? Don't think for one second that baby mama's out here didn't see that. You think Kai is the only one ready to take you down. You've made enemies everywhere, Kirk." Her words ignited murmurs across the room. Even those who once defended Kirk now looked away in disgust, unwilling to be associated with him. Kirk tried to step forward, his voice rough. "You need to leave, Jasmine. This ain't your business no more." But Jasmine shot back instantly. "It's always my business when you dragged me into this mess and humiliated me on national TV. Don't try to silence me now when your dirty laundry's out in the open for everybody to see." Her fury was relentless, and for once, Kirk had no comeback. He stood frozen, his hands twitching, his pride crumbling under the weight of his sins. Rashida, despite her heartbreak, found a sudden surge of strength. She rose from her chair, wiped her tears, and faced Jasmine head on. You don't get to come in here and act like you're innocent either. You knew he was married. You knew what you were doing when you had his child. Don't pretend like you're some victim now. You wanted to tear this family apart, and guess what? Congratulations, you got what you wanted. The venom in her words sent the room into stunned silence. But Jasmine smirked, crossing her arms. No, Rasheeda, I didn't destroy your family. Kirk did. And you did, by letting him. The weight of that statement hit like a bomb, leaving everyone shaken. Fans would later argue about this exact moment, debating whether Jasmine had spoken hard truths, or whether she was simply twisting the knife in a wound she helped create. Hashtags like hashtag Jasmine was right and hashtag stand with Rasheeda trended side by side. Proof that even in devastation, the Frost family drama divided the world. As tensions flared, Scrappy jumped up, throwing his hands in the air. Man, I can't take no more of this. This ain't TV. This is a funeral for a family. Y'all gotta stop before somebody really gets hurt for real. His outburst snapped the room back to reality, but the damage was already beyond repair. Rashida turned her gaze back to Kirk, her voice shaking but firm. This is it. I mean it this time. I'm done. You've embarrassed me, destroyed our son, and now you've dragged every demon we've tried to hide out into the open. You'll never get another chance to put your hands on me, Kirk. Never. The certainty in her tone shook Kirk more than any slap could. He stammered, Rashida, baby, you don't mean that. We can fix this, but she cut him off with a scream that echoed across the set. There's nothing left to fix. The crew froze, their cameras capturing every second of the destruction. Knowing they were filming what would go down as the most explosive love and hip-hop moment of all time. The Frost Empire had crumbled before their eyes. As Rashida stormed, off the set, Carly trailing behind her. Kirk stood alone in the center of the chaos, his chest rising and falling as though the weight of his choices had finally suffocated him, and in the silence that followed, the cast exchanged looks of dread, because deep down, everyone knew this wasn't the end. Kai's rage, Rashida's ultimatum. Jasmine's intrusion, it was only the beginning of a war that could destroy everything the Frosts had built. The cameras zoomed in on Kirk's face, broken and hollow, before cutting to black, leaving fans around the world, gasping, screaming, and demanding answers. Would Kai ever forgive? Would Rashida truly walk away? Or was Kirk Frost about to lose everything, his wife, his son, and his legacy in front of millions of people? The drama wasn't over. In fact, it was just getting started. Outside the studio, the night air was thick with tension, and the crowd of onlookers, fans, paparazzi, and bloggers who had caught wind of the chaos were buzzing like bees around spilled honey. Rashida stormed out first, her face streaked with tears but her jaw tight with determination. Carly Red was right behind her, practically shielding her like a bodyguard. Girl, don't even look back. Don't give him that satisfaction, Carly whispered fiercely, her arm around Rashida's shoulder. Cameras flashed wildly, capturing every painful second of her exit, as fans shouted, "We love you, Rashida. And leave him, sis. You deserve better." The crowd's energy fueled her, but her heart still ached with every step. Inside, though, Kirk was unraveling. He sat on the set couch, slouched forward, his face buried in his hands. For years, he had been able to talk his way out of scandals, twist narratives, and find a way back into Rashida's heart. But this time felt different. This wasn't just cheating, or lies, or betrayal. This was violence. This was his son turning his back on him. This was his empire collapsing right in front of him. Man, you done for real this time, Scrappy muttered under his breath, pacing the floor as he shook his head. Ain't no coming back from what you just did. Carly's voice echoed from outside the door, muffled but sharp. Don't let him spin it, Rashida. Don't let him drag you down again. This is your time to stand up. Meanwhile, Kai was nowhere to be found. He had disappeared into the night, his phone buzzing nonstop as friends, fans, and family tried to reach him. Social media was already on fire, with clips of his furious outburst going viral within minutes. Hashtags like hashtag protect Rasheeda, hashtag KYV's Kirk, and hashtag Frost Family Meltdown were trending worldwide. Fans were posting side-by-side screenshots of Kai defending his mom and Kirk's slap, creating a narrative that painted Kai as the true hero and Kirk as the villain of the century. But Kai wasn't feeling like a hero. Alone in his car, parked blocks away, he slammed his fists against the steering wheel, tears streaming down his face. How did it come to this? He muttered to himself, his voice breaking. How did my family get this messed up? His phone buzzed again. It was his younger siblings, texting him frantically, confused and scared. Kai hesitated before answering a FaceTime call. His little sister's tear-streaked face filled the screen. Kai, is it true? Did Daddy really hit Mom? His chest tightened, his voice low but firm. Yeah, and I'm not letting him get away with it. Back at the set, Jasmine was still stirring the pot, refusing to leave. Everybody wanna act shocked, she sneered, pacing the floor. But I've been saying for years that man ain't worth nothing. Y'all just didn't want to listen. Now the whole world sees it. The cast and crew shifted uncomfortably, some agreeing silently, others wishing she would finally leave. Kirk finally lifted his head, his eyes bloodshot, his voice hoarse. You think you're helping? You ain't nothing but a reminder of the worst mistake I ever made. You destroyed my marriage, Jasmine. You ain't got no right to be here. But Jasmine wasn't backing down. She leaned in close, her voice low and venomous. No, Kirk, you destroyed your marriage. I just exposed it. The tension was unbearable. The producers huddled in the corner, whispering frantically about whether to shut everything down or let the cameras keep rolling. But before anyone could make a move, Rashida re-entered the building, her eyes swollen but her stance unshakable. The crowd outside had begged her not to return, but she wasn't finished. Not yet. She walked straight up to Kirk, her heels clicking like gunshots against the floor. I came back to say this in front of everyone, so there's no twisting, no editing, no lies, she began, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. We are done. I mean it. I've stood by you through humiliation, through betrayal, through every scandal you dragged me through. But tonight you put your hands on me, and I saw the truth. You will never change. And I will never forgive you. Gasps filled the room as Rashida pulled the wedding ring from her finger and dropped it on the floor in front of him. The metallic clink echoed like a gunshot. Kirk's face went pale, his lips trembling as he stared at the ring. For the first time, he looked broken, like the man who always had an excuse, always had a backup plan, had finally run out of moves. Rashida turned to the cameras, her voice rising with fury. Let the world see this. Let the world know I'm done protecting him. From this moment forward, I'm standing on my own 2 feet. No more Frost Empire. It's just me now. The cast stood frozen, watching history unfold. And just as she began to walk out again, her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced at the screen and froze. Her face drained of color as she whispered, "Oh my God." The cast rushed forward, asking what was wrong, but Rashida's hands shook as she showed the screen to Carly. It was a live video, already being shared across social media. Kai, standing on a rooftop, his voice shaky but defiant, speaking directly to the world, I can't take this anymore. I can't live in this toxic cycle. If my family won't end it, then I will. Screams erupted around the set. Carly grabbed Rashida's arm, panicked. Girl, he's about to do something crazy. Rashida cried out. Kai, no. Please, no. Before bolting toward the door, the cameras chasing after her. The Frost family drama had just gone from explosive to life or death. Would Kai really take things too far? Would Kirk finally realize the damage he caused? Or was this the tragic breaking point fans had dreaded all along? The night spiraled into pure chaos as Rashida, Carly, and half the production team raced into black SUVs, chasing down the location pinned in Kai's live video. The streets of Atlanta blurred past as Rashida gripped her phone, sobbing and yelling at it as if Kai could somehow hear her through the screen. Baby, please don't do this. Don't let your daddy's mistakes take you down with him. You're stronger than this, Kai. Her voice cracked, desperation leaking through every word. Carly squeezed her hand, trying to steady her. He needs to hear you calm. Girl, he's in pain, but you're the only one who can pull him back from the edge. Meanwhile, back at the studio, Kirk was in complete meltdown. He paced the floor like a caged animal, his phone ringing nonstop with calls from friends, family, and even the producers begging him to get to his son. But Kirk's pride clashed with his fear. He don't want to hear from me. He just told me he'd kill me. You think he's picking up my call? Scrappy snapped at him. Man, this ain't about you right now. This about your son. Put your ego down and step the hell up before you lose him forever. Kirk froze, his chest heaving. The reality finally sinking, and this wasn't another scandal to manage. This was his son's life on the line. By the time Rashida and Carly arrived, At the rooftop parking lot, the scene was like something out of a movie. Dozens of fans and bystanders had already gathered, their phones out, recording Kai as he stood near the ledge, tears streaking his face, shouting into the night about betrayal, pain, and rage. Police officers and security guards were trying to push through the crowd, but the noise was deafening, with fans screaming his name, begging him to come down. The flashing red and blue lights cast everything in a surreal glow, amplifying the chaos. Rashida broke through the barricade, her heels clicking wildly on the concrete as she ran toward her son. Kai, baby, it's me, it's Mama. Please, don't do this. Her voice cracked with fear, echoing into the night. Kai whipped around, his face a storm of emotions. Mama, you don't get it. You kept protecting him. You kept letting him hurt you. And now look what he's done to us. Look what he turned me into. His voice broke, and the cameras caught every tear, every twitch of pain. Fans live streaming, gasped, crying themselves, typing comments like "Protect Kai at all costs," and "This is breaking my heart." Rashida stretched her hands out, sobbing. I know, baby. I know I failed you. I thought I was keeping this family together, but I was tearing it apart. You were right. You were always right. But I'm here now. I'm done with him. I swear to you, it's over between me and your daddy. I'm not protecting him anymore. Kai's lip trembled, his eyes scanning hers, searching for the truth. For a moment, the crowd held its breath, unsure if her words would be enough. And then, suddenly, a car screeched into the lot. The door slammed, and Kirk came sprinting out, shoving past security and ignoring the shouts of the crowd. His voice thundered through the chaos. Kai, son, look at me. The crowd gasped as Kirk fell to his knees right there on the pavement, his pride stripped away. I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. I failed you, I failed your mama. I failed this whole damn family. But don't you dare leave me like this. Don't you dare leave your mama like this. Hurt me, hate me, curse me out, I'll take it all, but don't you take yourself away from this world. Please, son, please. The scene was so raw, so unexpected, that even the officers paused, giving the family space. Kai's chest heaved, his tears falling harder as he looked at his father kneeling on the ground. You think it's that easy? You think just saying sorry erases years of lies, of pain, of watching you break mom over and over? His voice cracked, but the rage was there, burning. Kirk shook his head, pounding his fists against the ground. No, it don't erase nothing. But I'm begging you to let me try, to let me fight for what's left. Don't you end it, Kai. Don't you let me be the reason my own son dies. The crowd was silent, the world seemingly holding its breath. Then Rashida stepped closer, her hand outstretched. Baby, come back to me. Come back to us. You're the only good thing left in this whole mess. Don't let him destroy you too. Her voice was soft but firm, cutting through the chaos like a lifeline. Kai's lips quivered, his body shaking as though he were being torn in two. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he stepped back from the ledge. The crowd erupted in cheers, sobs, and prayers of relief, phones capturing every second of the dramatic turn. Rashida rushed forward, wrapping her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. Kirk stood frozen for a moment, tears streaming down his face, before cautiously approaching. Kai's eyes darted toward him, filled with anger and hurt, but for the first time, he didn't push him away. The image of the broken family clinging together on that rooftop while fans and cameras documented every second became the most replayed clip in Love and Hip Hop history. But as the family was escorted away, whispers rippled through the crowd. This wasn't an ending. This was just the beginning of a new storm. Because forgiveness wasn't guaranteed, trust was shattered, and the world had just witnessed the ugliest truths of the Frost family unravel in real time. The internet speculated wildly. Would Kai ever speak to his father again? Would Rashida finally divorce Kirk? Or had this near tragedy bound them together in ways none of them could have imagined? One thing was certain: this saga wasn't over. It was only evolving, and the next chapter promised to be darker, deeper, and more shocking than anything that had come before. The Frost family was escorted from the rooftop into the flashing chaos of police lights, paparazzi cameras, and screaming fans. But what unfolded afterward was a storm that even they couldn't control. Rashida clung to Kai as though letting go for even a second would mean losing him forever. Her tears hadn't dried. Her voice was still shaky, but she was determined to keep her son grounded after the near. We're going home, she whispered fiercely to him as the cameras shoved in closer. But for the Frosts, Home didn't feel like a safe place anymore. It felt like a battlefield. Kirk trailed behind them, his face pale and wet with tears. For once, he didn't try to push the cameras away, didn't bark at the paparazzi to back up. He looked like a man who had been stripped of every ounce of power. Shuffling in silence while whispers from the crowd followed him like ghosts. "That's the man who slapped his wife," one woman hissed. "That's the man his own son said he'd kill," another added. Kirk heard it all, and every word dug into his chest like knives. For years, he had built a reputation as the manipulator, the businessman who could spin any story. But tonight, the world had seen him raw and exposed, and there was no spin strong enough to undo it. Back at the Frost household, the night was heavy with silence. Kai sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at a glass of water he hadn't touched, while Rashida hovered nearby, too afraid to leave him alone. Kirk sat on the couch, his hands clasped tightly together, his eyes darting between them, desperate to say something but terrified of the response. Finally, Rashida broke the silence, her voice sharp as glass. "Do you realize what you've done? Do you see how far this has gone?" She gestured toward Kai, whose shoulders stiffened at her words. "This is your son Kirk. Oh, you are son. And, tonight, we almost lost him because of you." Kirk's lips trembled as he tried to speak. "I know, Sheeda. I know I messed up. I ain't got no excuse. But I never thought. Rashida snapped, her voice shaking. "You slapped me on set. You humiliated me in front of the world, in front of our kids, in front of everybody. And you pushed Kai so far, he thought the only way out was to end his life. How dare you sit there and act like this is something you never thought?" Kai finally slammed his hand on the table, making both of them jump. His voice was raw, jagged with pain. "Stop acting like this. Is new, Mama? He's been doing this for years. Maybe not the slap, maybe not on camera, but you know how he is. And you keep forgiving him, and forgiving him, and forgiving him, like it's all okay. And now, I can't take it anymore." He pushed his chair back and stood, his chest rising and falling in heavy bursts. "I can't even look at him without feeling sick." The words cut Kirk deeper than any insult ever could. His eyes filled with tears, his voice hoarse. "Son, I know you hate me right now. I probably deserve it. But I love you, Kai. I'd give my life for you." Kai's face twisted with rage. "Then why didn't you live like it? Why didn't you act like it all these years?" He stormed out of the kitchen, the sound of his door slamming upstairs reverberating through the house like thunder. Rashida turned back to Kirk, her eyes burning with fury. "Do you hear that? That's the sound of your son breaking. That's the sound of a family you destroyed." Her voice cracked on the last word as tears finally overwhelmed her, and she sank into a chair, covering her face. Kirk stood frozen, staring at her, at the staircase, at the fragments of his life crumbling around him. For once, he had no slick comeback, no excuse, no plan, just silence. The next morning, the story had already exploded online. Every blog, every gossip page, every entertainment outlet had plastered clips of the rooftop drama across their front pages. Headlines screamed, "Kirk Frost exposed in onset attack. Kai Frost saves his mother from toxic marriage." Love and Hip Hop's darkest episode yet. Fans flooded Rashida's social media with messages of love and support, urging her to finally leave Kirk for good. Meanwhile, Kirk's pages were drowning in hate comments, memes, and calls for him to be fired from the show altogether. In the midst of this storm, Kai posted a single message to his Instagram story, a black screen with the words, "I'm still here, for now." The internet erupted, with fans sending messages of encouragement but also expressing fear for his mental state. Bloggers speculated about whether VH1 producers were exploiting the Frosts' tragedy for ratings or whether this was the final straw that would push Rashida to divorce. Back in the Frost home, Rashida sat Kai down gently, brushing his hair back like she did when he was little. "Baby, I'm so sorry," she whispered, her eyes shining with guilt. "I thought I was protecting this family, but I see now I was just protecting him. I won't do it anymore. I promise you, it's different now." Kai looked at her, his eyes swollen from crying. "Don't just say it, Mama. Do it, show me, you mean it." Those words lingered in her mind, even as she tried to reassure him. Because deep down, Rashida knew he was right. Words weren't enough anymore. Something had to change. Later that evening, cameras captured Rashida making a bold move, meeting with a high-profile divorce attorney in downtown Atlanta. Fans spotted her entering the building, and within hours, photos hit the internet. The headlines shifted again, Rashida finally leaving Kirk. The speculation fueled fans' excitement, but inside, Rashida wasn't celebrating, she was terrified. Terrified of what divorce would mean for her family, for her kids, for the empire she and Kirk had built together, but more than anything, she was terrified of losing Kai if she didn't act now. When Kirk found out where she had gone, he erupted. Storming into their bedroom, he shouted, "So you just gonna run to a lawyer? Just like that? After everything we been through?" Rashida turned on him, her eyes blazing. "After everything we been through? Kirk, I almost lost my son last night because of you. You think I'm waiting around for another chance to let you ruin us? No? This is over." Kirk's face twisted, torn between anger and despair. "You think you can just erase me? Erase us? After all these years?" Rashida's voice was steady now, cold and unflinching. "I'm not erasing you, Kirk. You did that yourself." But just as the argument reached its peak, Kai appeared at the doorway, his eyes red but fierce. "Enough, both of you. If y'all gonna fight, fine, but don't do it in front of me like I'm some pawn in your game. I'm not choosing sides. I'm choosing myself." The room fell silent. The truth in his words was undeniable. For the first time, Rashida and Kirk realized that the biggest battle wasn't between them, it was to save their son's faith in family, in love, in life itself. And as the cameras zoomed in on that silent, broken moment, fans everywhere knew the Frost family drama wasn't anywhere near finished. The question was, who would survive the fallout? And there you have it, y'all, one of the wildest, most shocking sagas in love and hip-hop history, from a slap that rocked the entire set, to Kai Frost standing on the edge of despair, to Rashida finally saying she's done protecting Kirk. This story had every twist no one saw coming. Fans are still reeling, social media is in flames, and the Frost family stands at a crossroads that could either heal their wounds or tear them apart forever. Will Kai ever forgive his father? Will Rashida go through with the divorce she's been threatening for years? Or will Kirk somehow pull off the impossible and rebuild what's left of his broken family? We don't have all the answers just yet. But one thing is certain, the world is watching, and the Frosts will never be the same again. These moments weren't just drama for TV, they were real emotions, real pain, and real consequences. And, whether you love them or hate them, you can't deny that the Frosts just delivered a reality TV storm that people will be talking about for years to come. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Rashida should finally cut ties with Kirk once and for all? Do you believe Kai and Kirk's relationship can ever be repaired after this explosive showdown? Or has the damage gone too deep? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be reading every single one. And don't forget to hit that like button if you were just as shocked as we were. Subscribe so you never miss another jaw-dropping update. And turn on that notification bell because trust me, this saga is far from over. The next chapter is already brewing, and you're not going to want to miss a second of it. So stay tuned, stay locked in, and remember, when it comes to love and hip-hop drama, nothing is ever really over.